We are back yet again for Fantasy Football in 5. Our last video was our defenses and kickers strategy, and this video will be our best backups and handcuffs.
So if you haven't seen last video, hit the big red button below. Okay, so some of our favorite backup quarterbacks this fantasy season include Blake Bortles, Phillip Rivers, Derek Carr, and Alex Smith.
Now, Alex Smith, he's one of the most consistent quarterbacks out there. We've talked about him before. He's not going to put up those 40-plus point games, but he'll get those 20 to 25-point games that'll keep you in contention week to week.
And Blake Bortles, on the other hand, he was a very good starter for a lot of the season last year, but this season we like him more as a backup just because of the high interception numbers he threw last year. And he did put up a lot of touchdowns, which was great last season, but I expect those numbers to decline. He obviously has great receivers still, but look for him, when we want you to draft a backup quarterback in round like 12 or something like that.
For running backs, we have 4 running backs: Chris Ivory, Gio Bernard, Danny Woodhead, and Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is the backup in Tennessee, and we primarily don't like backups on NFL teams to be your backup on your fantasy team, but in this case, they're going to split carries. Derrick Henry is a much better. He can catch balls out of the backfield better than DeMarco Murray, and that's why he's getting so much hype out of camp for the Titans. We really like him to get maybe 800 yards or so and around 6 touchdowns. So I really like Henry as a backup this year.
Now, another one that we talked about was Chris Ivory, and he is obviously the new, not new, but not going to start. He'll do split carries like we talked about with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry out in Jacksonville, though, with TJ Yeldon. Now, expect Chris Ivory to get more touchdowns than Yeldon simply because they will use him in goal line packages, and he may not get as many yards, but I still expect him to have a really good season.
Right, and Ivory is going ahead of Henry in a lot of drafts. I think almost all of the mock drafts I've done, he's gone ahead of Derrick Henry. So you can get both of these guys for solid values.
All right, starting out here, we're going to talk about a few wide receivers to pick up as good backup. Wide receivers. Anyways, starting out, we have Marvin Jones, and then we have not Travis Benjamin. Yeah, Travis Benjamin. Sorry, Mohamed Sanu, Alan Hearns, and Michael Crabtree.
Michael Crabtree is the number 2 receiver out in Oakland. He performed very well last season along with Cooper. They both had over 1,000 yards. Crabtree had a lot of red zone drops though, which is a fact that might scare some fantasy owners away. But Cooper wasn't targeted in the red zone at all. He had 0 red zone drops, which kind of means he wasn't targeted because he had a lot of touchdowns on long passes. So if you like wide receivers that score touchdowns, Michael Crabtree is your backup guy.
And then another wide receiver to talk about would be Marvin Jones. Now, he's been getting a decent amount of hype this year now that he moved from Cincinnati over to Detroit. And expect him to be the number 1 receiver out there in Detroit because I don't think that Golden Tate is going to solidify that number 1 spot like they had hoped. And Marvin Jones, he's a good red zone threat. He's a tall guy. He's also speedy, so expect him to get a lot of those passes that would have gone to Calvin Johnson may now go to Marvin Jones.
And this will only increase Matthew Stafford's value as a quarterback. All right, so in the tight end department, we really only like a couple of guys this year as backups. We like Zach Miller, Julius Thomas, and Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Now, we already talked about Zach Miller a lot, so I'm going to talk about Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He's out there with Tampa Bay, and I expect him to get a lot of red zone targets because last year he got a decent amount of red zone targets in a little bit of time that he played. He was injured a lot, but he put up great numbers when he was in, and he had a great connection with Winston.
Right. Julius Thomas is the other guy we're going to talk about. Now, he had a couple of really good seasons in Denver. He struggled the past 2 years in Jacksonville's offense, but I do believe this year he's going to show a little bit of his 2013 self and dominate defenses in the red zone.
Now, obviously, we forgot a couple positions, defenses and kickers, but we don't really need to mention backups for them because kickers are just amazing people and they don't need backups. Anyways, so going into our next segment is going to be handcuff running backs who you could draft. Guys like, starting out, we have D'Angelo Williams, we have Spencer Ware / Charkandrick West, and we also have James Starks.
Right, and we typically don't like to handcuff running backs or any position really. Because if one fails, the other might possibly fail too. But I know a lot of people like to do that, so these 3 guys in their offenses that they're in are pretty good handcuff options if you so choose. Alright, that was Fantasy Football 5. Thank you for watching. We deliver all your fan news in 5 minutes less because honestly, who would want to watch a 30-minute video on this topic?
Amen.
Alright, so this video was our backups in handcuffs. We don't know what we're going to call the next video yet because we're throwing around some ideas. So stay with us and don't forget to subscribe.